Welcome. I'm Bev Adams. I own an independent paper crafting business showcasing products from Stampin' Up. I made this beautiful fall card with products from Stampin' Up. I sell these products and also a few items to make crafting more convenient. I have the free detailed directions for this project on my website, and you'll be able to click the links for the products that you would like to be taken to my online store at Stampin' Up. You'll see where to find all of that at the end of this video, so don't worry about taking notes. It's time to put stamps, ink, and paper together. I'm using Time of Giving and the Coordinating Giving Gifts dies. I will also be using tailor-made tags. I will be doing some embossing. I'll be using the gold Stampin' Emboss powder that comes in the group of metallics Stampin' Emboss powders now. And I will be using Versamark and of course the heat tool. My inks are Rich Razzleberry and Mossy Meadow. I will be blending those, so I'm using the blending brushes. I'm using some of the faux suede trim, and I'm using the Very Vanilla Baker's Twine. This comes in the Baker's Twine Essentials pack. I'll be using some brushed metallics dies. For my paper, I will be using the Blackberry Beauty Specialty Designer Series paper. And so this is one side and this is the other. And you'll see that one side has gold foil. For this card, I used this paper because I wanted this to be on the back of my leaf here. For this video, I'm going to be using this because I needed to use a different color. My cardstock is Very Vanilla, so I have the Very Vanilla envelope, a very vanilla thick cardstock for the card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have the Designer Series paper that's 5 1/4 by 4. This is some of the brushed metallics cardstock, and I used the gold. I really am excited about this cork specialty paper. I thought it was going to be thick, but it's actually quite thin, but it adds a lot of texture to your card. And I have a piece of Very Vanilla. This piece is 3.5 by 2.5, and this piece was 3 1/4 by 1.5. I already cut this piece out with the TaylorMade dies, the number 3 curvy die. I will be using the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine also. I'm going to start by cutting the center of this one out. I'm going to be using this leaf cluster. This leaf cluster matches this stamp exactly, but I'm not going to be stamping and cutting out these. So I've got my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, the number 1 platform, the number 2 plate. This one's for using dies. I've got my very cut up cutting plate, and I've got my Designer Series paper, and I'm putting this die right in the middle. Actually, I want to turn this over to the back side and put this right in the middle. This die cuts and embosses at the same time, and so I wanted this side for the embossed leaves. And so that's why I put the back side up. Then I'm going to apply the cork paper to the brushed foil. I'm only putting my adhesive around the outside edge. And I'm going to use the same die to get out the center of this piece. We're going to be using, so we're cutting from these two layers right here, and we're going to be covering that up. So don't cut too close to the edge. When you take those out, be very careful. Cutting two layers like this, it does emboss both, and it does leave this texture on the gold, which I actually liked very much. And I think I may need to go through a second time because of the two layers. When you go through a second time, you can kind of feel it popping into place, and it doesn't want to slide. And now these leaves pop out. You may need to separate the foil from the cork layer. We're only going to be using 3 of all of these leaves, so you will have leftovers. I'm going to be embossing, so I'm bringing in a scrap of paper and turning this way to stamp Thankful in Versamark ink. And I didn't get that very centered. I might need to use a leaf to get that fixed up a little bit. And then I'm going to be stamping those leaves. And I want to put those leaves down in this bottom corner. Maybe I'll even have it going off the edge here. I know you can't see anything when I stamp with the Versamark. It is a clear ink that takes a little bit longer to dry, and it stays a little bit sticky, so it will allow this powder to stick to it, and that's exactly what we want. There may be some extra little pieces left over, and now you can see what I've stamped. And this powder goes back into the tub. Some people store these in some people store the embossing powder in little tubs. I don't have that much room in my space, so I keep it in the original tub. Then we're going to use the heat tool, and this actually just kind of melts the embossing powder. It starts out kind of powdery. It looks a little shiny in the video, I think. It starts out powdery, and then I think you'll see that it melts shiny and bright. When you turn the heat tool on for the first time, it takes a little bit of time to heat up, but once it does, it really does a quick job of embossing. And I think that this is kind of a magical process. And that's all there is to that. When I was picking this up, I realized that I brushed my finger across the L, and I had tossed my gold embossing powder into my drawer and picked up the silver by mistake. And so I think you'll see a little bit of silver on the L. Looks like I also brushed off some of the Versamark, and so I've got a little bit of a gap, but I decided to leave that there so you can see what not to do. Turns out okay, I think. And so now it's pretty much a matter of putting my card together. just putting this on my card front. Putting this piece on with dimensionals, and I've got just the scraps, so I've cut these up into, I've cut the border up into smaller pieces using that. These usually come in little hexagons, and I like to put some in the middle to just support that. And this gets centered here. I can bring in my scrap again because I want to use those blending brushes to add just a hint of color. So I'm using Mossy Meadow. I experimented to get this a little extra clean. I used my Dental Water flosser to get in there, and I think this doesn't look so smooth, so I'm hoping that I didn't mess it up forever. I think it's going to be just fine. So I just want to put a little bit of color around the edge. And I probably should be swapping this out. Rich Razzleberry is the color that's here. This is Blackberry Bliss, but I'm going to still use the Rich Razzleberry. I think it will be just fine because we're really just, like I said, adding a hint of color here. And maybe I'll add a little bit more green to the leaves themselves here. I wanted to put this on, and I think I want to put another layer of Stampin' Dimensionals on here. I don't usually use 2 layers because it does make it a little bit more difficult to go through the postal machines. So you can use dimensionals on 1 layer if you'd like. And I can lift this up a little bit just to get the ribbon underneath here. When I tie the ribbon, I'm left-handed, so I don't know if that will make a difference for you, but I learned how to tie a square knot in Girl Scouts. So right over left, and I got a new third hand, these tweezers that kind of lock and have a very pointy tip. So then we go left over right. And if you pull one side, and I'm pulling the long piece, and then pull the second piece, you'll get a very pretty knot. And I figure you only need about 9 inches or so for that, and another 9 inches of this. But honestly, I just never cut them off of the spool, so I don't have to waste that. So I'm just tying on my tag. And this one, I'm going to tie a bow around here. On this version, I actually tied it under the knot, and you can do that if you'd like. Or for this one, I'm going over. And then I put my finger on the center of the bow to make it smaller. give it a little trim. Now I want to pick 3 leaves. I don't want them to be the same type of leaf. And now I'm going to decide, do I want this background? I think I will swap this out because I had lots of extra leaves from that other paper. I was experimenting with these leaves, and I cut out some from cardstock, which I liked very much. Some early espresso. So I think I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to just put these on with a dot, and I want to have all of the stems start in the same place. And then one of those brushed metallic dots. And I think I'm going to use the big one. I, again, usually am very wary of thick embellishments because I don't like to charge myself extra postage. So there are smaller ones which are less lumpy. And that's it. I am thankful for you. Here is the web address for this project where you'll find the free detailed directions and links for the products I used. Just click the links and you'll be taken to my online store at Stampin' Up! Also on my website, you can click Home near the top of the page to find lots of resources. Under Shop, you can find the products I offer to make crafting more convenient, how to get free products with my frequent shopper rewards, and a link to my online store at Stampin' Up! Click Inspiration to scroll all my projects back to 2011, most with detailed directions and videos. Though the products in those older projects have been retired, you may find techniques, layouts, and color combinations to inspire you today. If you're new to stamping, you might want to take a look at the basics. You'll find out how to cut card bases and layers, and what's special about Stampin' Up!, and some of my favorite tools. Under Organization, you'll find tons of free resources such as catalog tabs, labels and case inserts, color tools, and much more. You can take a tour of my craft wall. More organization means more time for crafting. Come stamp with me here in Ventura County, California, or get the best deal of all and join my team of crafters. The team is called SIP Together, and it stands for Stamps, Ink, and Paper Together. The team is made of crafters who want to save money on the products they buy, share with a few friends, or grow a business like mine. Be sure to subscribe to my website and on YouTube. Talk to you soon. Bye.